In our journey to find out more about domestic abuse and gender-based violence, GBV as it's called, in this episode, we are going to try to learn more about what happens to children when a parent gets abused by the other parent. You see, children are sometimes silent observers who understand a lot of things and feel stress. And that stress affects their personality development. And that child, the way that child grows up, is affected by the environment in which the child grows up. So if the child watches his or her mother being beaten by the father, the child absorbs this behavior pattern and his or her personality development is affected. And that person grows up into a very distinctly different type of an adult compared to a child who grows up in a very friendly, harmonious environment. I'm grateful to Dr. Aninda Sidhana from Rajasthan, who has come in this episode to help us understand what happens to the child when abuse happens in a family. Gender-based violence has far-reaching effects on children who are spectators to something which is very horrific, which is very scary, frightening to them, and their personality is affected by that. Dr. Aninda Sidhana. Dr. Aninda Sidhana is a renowned mental health professional, educator, and advocate dedicated to advancing women's mental health and well-being. With her roots in mental health and a family background in psychiatry, she has been immersed in the nuances of mental health from a young age. Holding a MD in psychiatry and a fellowship in psychosexual medicine, Dr. Sidhana's expertise spans stress management, addictions, marital therapy, and common mental disorders. A decade-long experience in both general hospital psychiatry units and tertiary care neuropsychiatric centers equip her to handle severe and chronic mental illnesses with ease. As a member of the International Association of Women's Mental Health, Dr. Sidhana focuses on addressing women's mental health issues, including sexual problems which often remain unspoken. She emphasizes the importance of sex education for women, aiming to break the silence surrounding women's sexual health problems. Dr. Sidhana serves as a guest faculty in the psychosexual medicine course at JSS Mysore, sharing her expertise with the next generation of mental health professionals. Recognized for her contributions, Dr. Aninda Sidhana has received the Women of Substance Award and the Women Resilience Award in 2024 by the Indian Psychiatric Society. She currently serves as Assistant Professor at Dr. S.S. Tantia MCH and Research Center.
What effect does children have when they see the domestic violence in the family, when children see a father beating their mother? What affects them? What happens to them? So there are many psychological factors which children who have witnessed the domestic violence in their homes suffer from. The most important thing is definitely the learned behavior, that is, in the long term, if we see, they will also become the abusers, men. And women start believing that yes, it's okay to be beaten or to be abused, it's normal. So that learned behavior or learned helplessness comes in the girl child, and males, they start feeling they have this control and power over the women. So learned behavior develops. Now another things which children who are witnessing the domestic violence in the homes, they actually go through a lot of trouble. Rather, I say children suffer more in the abusive marriages. In India, women continue to stay in the marriage for the sake of a child also. But they don't understand, when a child is witnessing abuse and such bad relationship, he is having more psychological trauma. The psychological problems children have, they start having attachment issues. They can have avoidant attachment style, or they become anxious. Then there is a social withdrawal, anxiety, depression, even post-traumatic stress disorder occurs. They can get the flashbacks of the abuse which has been happening at the home, and it has been seen in the long term these children tend to get involved in substance use, tend to have personality disorder problems, and the normalization of this domestic abuse is actually affecting the children. And there are another psychological effects which happen to the children are aggression develops in these children. It can be genetic, which we can say that can be genetic from either parent, or it can be the learned behavior. Then these children have poor academic performance also, concentration problems, learning difficulties, and the social phobia. They avoid going out, avoid talking to the friends, because sometimes they feel stigmatized or they feel bad, like why my parents are fighting all the time, and they themselves go into some shell and close themselves. They don't express their emotions, and which in turn lead to them having psychological problems. So just for the sake of children, if you are continuing to stay in the abusive marriages, it's rather damaging them more. So there are also the learning difficulties which have been seen, and many psychiatric problems which can develop in the children after seeing the abusive marriages. And also when the violence is like grave, like mother is actually beaten up very badly, it can cause a child develop hatred towards the father, or child might suffer from lot of aggression inside which is bottled up. And another which can happen, if a daughter is there, daughter witnessing this, she can develop trust issues, and going into any relationship is very difficult for the boy also and for the girl also, if they have seen abusive marriages. Trust issues definitely develop. There is always a fear of abandonment, fear of abuse. So all these things definitely affect children a lot. So it's better if child does not witness the abuse, and just for the sake of the child, please don't continue the marriage.
I'd like to thank you, Dr. Aninda, for coming in this episode and giving us your time and your wisdom and your knowledge. According to child psychologists, when parents fight, children feel stressed, children feel scared, children feel concerned when their parents are arguing or fighting, and they sometimes wonder if it's their fault. Another negative effect is children pick up sides, and this is not a healthy thing. Children often feel lonely when their parents fight, and they feel detached from their parents. This is another negative effect. Children sometimes subconsciously choose to misbehave so that they can get attention. The way the parents choose to behave has a big impact on the child's happiness and their success in their life ahead. So it's very important to understand the effects on children and take measures to help them through the circumstances whenever abuse happens in a family. I hope this episode helps people understand the seriousness of this issue. Parents understand the effects on their children and the growth of a child, the personality development of a child. Thank you.